My sixth grade teacher told me I was the worst student she ever had. And she was probably right. I had no interest in school and doing homework. My dad was an English professor with his own publishing company who believed in learning through experience. And I put him to the test when I was 15 because I had an idea for a business promoting punk and metal bands, and I told him I wanted to drop out of school, and he let me do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I had no experience to know the things I was doing were right or wrong, but it was all about an adventure. I started a record label. I did a national television show. I did the first CD-Rom magazine before I was 25. And I learned a lot going down that road. Over the next 10 years, I made a few good decisions, but a lot of mistakes. And I realized that I was doing things a lot of people saying couldn't be done after I had already done them. I realized that the true success, that critical success factor in figuring out how to make something good, wasn't necessarily the idea or the business. It all came back to developing that individual to be able to execute on their vision. You have to make sure that they have what they need to see something nobody else sees and then be able to go after it. So entrepreneurs really aren't as advanced as you may think. Maybe not all that different from babies. A 2013 study in the Journal of Psychological Sciences said a tendency to explore risky situations may be one of the driving forces behind skill development. That's not a quote about entrepreneurs. It's a quote about the developmental growth of babies. When babies are born, they have no inherent fear of falling. They go about the world learning their environments on their own terms. It's not until about 9 months that that fear sets in. And that's not too different from nascent entrepreneurs. Nascent entrepreneurs see the world, they see a problem, and they just try to figure out a way to solve it. They don't know what they can't do, so they just go on about their path trying to figure it out without a fear. So don't let fear hold you back. Don't let the lack of experience hold you back. Think about experience like kneecaps. Kneecaps are almost entirely cartilage until 3 years old. Experience can end up being like kneecaps that ossify too early, and it'll stunt your growth. You try something and it works for you, so you do the same thing over and over because you already tried it and it worked already. You lose your flexibility. You lose testing what you can do and what you can become because it's a lot easier to go down that well-traveled path. Ironically, when entrepreneurs start to find success, does that fear of falling really start to come into play? The money becomes real. All of a sudden, they have a reputation that they don't want to risk. And you have a team of people looking up to you as a leader, and you don't want to let them down. So that fear can become a self-fulfilling boundary because you're on that ledge and you're looking down, and you want to create that safety net. So you may not go as fast. You may not take those risks because you don't want to lose what you already have. Now, you may be thinking to yourself, this doesn't apply to me at all. I'm not an entrepreneur. Well, you're wrong. Anyone who has an idea that may solve a problem that could end up changing the world has to find that strength to be able to go forward when everything around you is kind of letting you know that maybe you shouldn't go as fast or try that thing that you really feel might be right. At those times, we have to go back to the glorious ignorance of our early years, where we can try our environment, learn by doing, and create our own truths as we go through life, not having that fear, not understanding how challenging it may be to fall off that ledge, but in that you learn the resiliency. You learn that you just get right back up again. A concept conceived by essayist and statistician Nassim Taleb, but immortalized by Donald Rumsfeld, deals with the concept of known unknowns and unknown unknowns. Some people really are frightened by known unknowns. Those are people who are likely to travel a more well-traveled path. They'll choose secure careers. Maybe they'll start a small business instead of a high-growth venture. There's uncertainty and risk in anything you may decide to do. And so starting a business, you know that there's going to be some known unknowns. It's that entrepreneur who lays awake at night thinking about the unknown unknowns, understanding that in order to keep moving forward, to take that leap of faith, she has to find the strength not only in that idea and knowing that that is her vision and that's the plan she has to go forward with, but more importantly, finding the strength in herself to keep moving forward. It's in those moments where you're confronting those frontiers of fear that you have to use sometimes reserves, that you have to build up to find the way to keep moving forward. Because it's scary. It's always going to be scary, especially if you're doing anything that really disrupts, that's truly innovative. People aren't going to get it. And you have to be strong and have a plan and focus on making sure the way you're doing it is done on your own terms, without a mother's gasp getting in your way. I spend my life focused on democratizing access to resources and networks so any entrepreneur can find the strength she needs to try those things, to do something, even when everything and everyone around her is telling her she can't. And there's entrepreneurship programs all over the world in universities and incubators and accelerators who have good ideas about how to grow a business. They focus on the business plan, the elevator pitch, how they can help you raise a lot of money, making sure your financial models work. And those are things you can learn anywhere. The challenge stems from developing yourself, finding the strengths and resources, because when you really want to do something innovative, it comes from elevating the individual first. You have to make sure that person has the strength to be able to execute on that plan. That means making sure that team, those founders, understands their strengths and weaknesses, have the ability to continue to move forward, to be able to learn as they're going, so that they can outpace their own growth with the growth of the company, so that as that business grows, they continue to lead it through those frontiers. It means that believing in your heart that entrepreneurs can be made and can be made better. And there's a great example of that in Jan Koum, the co-founder of WhatsApp. On February 19th, 2014, Koum signed a $19 billion deal with Facebook in front of the North County Social Services Office, where he used to pick up his food stamps. Koum started out by buying books on computer networking and teaching himself. He bought an iPhone, saw an opportunity. Next thing you know, he founded WhatsApp. He went from sweeping the floors of grocery stores to running a $19 billion company. How does that happen? It comes from focusing on developing yourself as you develop your business, not falling in love with your idea so much that you can't continue to traverse the path and learn by doing as you go, continually developing yourself and your idea along the way. The pace of a startup is all about speed, making quick decisions that sometimes you won't know until years later if they were good or bad. There's no immediate feedback. It's a scary proposition. Now, that word, Italian for slowing down the tempo, is exactly what happens as your company grows. You go from 1 or 2 or 3 people to 5 to 10, where everybody's constantly sharing information and you're able to do things pretty quickly, to the business becoming successful, more people coming in, information isn't shared as easily, and all of a sudden there has to be all these processes and operational efficiencies and structure built in that can become bureaucracy. The key is to making sure that as your company grows, the founders, the leaders are able to grow with it. They're able to make sure that that fear, that pace by which you were used to doing everything, that fear doesn't set in, that actually will stunt the innovative processes so that other entrants may be able to enter. People who are faster because they don't have anything to lose. The nice thing is you don't have to go it alone. There's resources all over the world that are there to help entrepreneurs go from idea to execution. But a few challenges lay in that space. First, there are a lot of mentors who want to help you. They don't want you to fall, they don't want you to fail, so they're going to make sure you don't make any mistakes. What better way to calibrate your gut instincts than by learning through your own failures? Now, I know that sounds a little questionable, but part of the challenge is if you don't take the chance to calibrate your gut instincts, you're always going to be dependent on someone else telling you what you need to do, and you'll never be able to realize yourself as the leader who can continue to take that company to wherever it needs to go. So those overprotective mentors actually end up potentially stunting the growth, especially if you're doing something truly innovative that they may just not see, may not be able to understand. It's their own fears that may be holding you back rather than you setting the pace for your own future. Additionally, a lot of potential mentors may have a structure in place of what the boundaries are for an industry or for a solution that you see. Let's take the case of what Tesla Motors, the kinds of advice they may have gotten from executives in the auto industry. So those executives may not have really understood that Tesla was trying to do something in totally new ways. Tesla saw a market opportunity with mass appeal for electric vehicles. They knew they wanted to disrupt, not just in terms of the way the design was, but the innovations there, and now even the distribution of the cars. And it really is about disruption. A lot of those car executives probably would not have wanted that disruption to occur, and now they're dealing with it. So now that we're seeing that Tesla is becoming very successful, you have to look back and kind of be thankful that those founders, that Elon Musk and his team, didn't look and say, industry experts, how do you help us get there? You have to create your own truths and sometimes see something that nobody else may see and just keep going for it. That sounds really hard to do and really scary, but that's where true innovation and true disruption lies. Entrepreneurs need to learn personal accountability. They need to know that when there's success as a team. When there's failure, it's all on you. You had to make those decisions. You listened to advice, you weighed what sounded good, you ignored some, you went forward with others. But there's no one else standing there when it really gets hard, when your employees are looking for leadership. It's all about staying hungry and humble no matter what comes in front of you. So a lot of people all over the world see unknowns as limitations. They're scared by what could be out there, and it is a scary place. But if you start to view unknowns as opportunities, you're going to be among the few who sees an opportunity to change the world and goes for it, and isn't scared, or sometimes is scared a lot, but you don't want to let everybody know. And going forward, making sure that that vision you have stays right in front of you, and everything around you may be telling you it won't work, but you have to keep focused on the prize. And you have to make sure that your team and everyone around you knows that you're focused on that and you're going to lead them to victory. So I urge you to challenge your boundaries. Like that child who's searching for a way to see what he can and cannot do, or he doesn't want his mother's gasp stopping him too short. He wants to keep moving forward. And it's really key to make sure that when you're on that ledge and you're looking down, you know that the view is probably a lot better, a little higher up. I urge you to join me so we can see how nice it is from above. Thank you.